For decades, the world knew Michael Jackson as the king of pop, but behind his legendary success was a family full of talented performers who shared the same stage, dreams, and struggles. Some became famous, some disappeared from the spotlight, and some faced battles the world never saw. But how good were Michael Jackson's brothers and sisters really? Their journey reveals a story of talent, rivalry, sacrifice, and a family that changed music forever. Before Michael Jackson became one of the biggest stars in music history, he was just a young boy growing up in a large family with big dreams. The Jackson family story began in Gary, Indiana, a city known for hard work and challenges. In this small home, a group of children would discover talents that would later change the world of entertainment forever. The Jackson family was led by Joseph and Catherine Jackson. They had 10 children, and music quickly became an important part of their lives. Catherine loved music and encouraged her children to develop their singing abilities. Joseph, who had experience as a musician, saw potential in his children and wanted them to become successful performers. From a young age, the Jackson children showed a natural connection with music. They practiced singing, dancing, and performing together. What started as a family activity slowly became something much bigger. The first major step came when Joseph created a music group with his sons. The group included Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, Marlon, and later Michael. At the beginning, they performed at local events and talent shows. They were young, but their energy and discipline made people notice them. Michael was the youngest member of the group, but his talent quickly stood out. His voice, dance moves, and ability to connect with audiences were different from others his age. Many people around them realized that this young boy had something special. But becoming successful was not easy. The children had to spend many hours practicing. They had a strict schedule that focused on improving their performances. While other children were playing outside, the Jackson brothers were working on their music. Their hard work started paying off when they began winning local competitions. Soon, their name became known beyond their hometown. They were no longer just a group of talented kids, they were becoming a serious musical act. However, fame came with sacrifices. The pressure of performing at such a young age changed their childhood. They had to balance family life, school, and the demands of becoming entertainers. The Jackson family was about to enter a new chapter. A chapter filled with fame, success, and worldwide recognition. But before Michael became a global icon, the family had to prove themselves on one of the biggest stages in music. And that journey was only beginning. The Jackson brothers had talent, but talent alone was not enough to reach the top. They needed the right opportunity. That moment came when their group, known as the Jackson 5, started attracting attention outside their hometown. Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, Marlon, and Michael worked together as a team. Each brother brought something different to the group. Jackie was known for his smooth vocals and stage presence. Tito played guitar and helped create the group's sound. Jermaine had a powerful voice and became one of the main singers. Marlon added energy and strong dancing skills. Then there was Michael, whose talent would soon make him stand out around the world. The group performed at clubs, competitions, and small venues, slowly building their reputation. Their performances were full of energy, and audiences were impressed by their confidence despite their young age. Their biggest breakthrough came when they signed with Motown Records in 1968. This was a major turning point. Motown was one of the most successful music labels at the time, and it gave the Jackson 5 the platform they needed to reach millions of people. Their first major single, I Want You Back, became a huge success. It quickly reached the top of music charts and introduced the world to a young Michael Jackson with an unforgettable voice and incredible stage presence. The success continued with more hit songs like ABC, The Love You Save, and I'll Be There. The Jackson 5 became one of the biggest groups in the world. They appeared on television shows, performed for massive audiences, and became role models for many young fans. But behind the bright lights, life was not always easy. The pressure to stay successful was intense. The brothers had to constantly perform, travel, and meet high expectations. Their childhood became different from most children because their lives were controlled by rehearsals and performances. As Michael grew older, it became clear that he had a unique ability that went beyond the group. His voice, dancing, and creativity made him one of the most exciting young performers of his generation. While the Jackson 5 gave the family fame, it also created challenges. The brothers had to find their own identities while being known as part of a famous group. Some members wanted more creative freedom, while others struggled to adjust to life in the spotlight. The Jackson 5 had opened the door to worldwide fame, but the next chapter would test whether each brother could succeed on their own. Because becoming famous as a group was one thing, but proving yourself alone was a completely different challenge. The Jackson 5 had already become a worldwide sensation, but as time passed, each brother faced a difficult question: could they create their own success outside the famous family group? In the early years, Jermaine Jackson played a major role in the group's success. His powerful voice and smooth style made him one of the most recognized members of the Jackson family. When the Jackson 5 moved to a new label and became known as the Jacksons, Jermaine followed a different path and focused more on his solo career. Jermaine released several solo albums and had successful songs, proving that he was more than just a member of a famous family. However, reaching the same level of worldwide fame as Michael was extremely difficult. Michael's popularity continued growing at a speed that changed the music industry forever. Jackie Jackson, the oldest brother, also followed a solo career after the group years. He released music and continued performing, but he remained more connected to the family legacy and the Jacksons. His role was important because he helped keep the group's identity alive during changing times. Tito Jackson took a different approach. Known for his guitar skills, Tito focused on music while also exploring his own style. For many years, he stayed away from the center of attention, but he continued performing and sharing his passion for music. Marlon Jackson also worked on solo projects and continued his connection with entertainment. Although his solo success was not as large as Michael's, he remained an important part of the Jackson story and the family's musical history. Meanwhile, Michael Jackson's career reached a level that few artists ever achieved. His albums, performances, and creative ideas transformed him into a global superstar. His success created both opportunities and challenges for his brothers because they were often compared to him. The difference between Michael's fame and his brothers' careers became one of the biggest stories surrounding the family. Some people viewed the brothers as less successful, but each of them had their own achievements and contributions to music. Success is not always measured by being the most famous person in the room. The Jackson brothers helped create a musical legacy that influenced generations of artists. However, fame also brought pressure. The family had to deal with public attention, personal struggles, and the challenge of living under the shadow of one of the world's biggest entertainers. While the brothers continued their own journeys, the Jackson family story was not complete. The sisters of the family were also talented performers with dreams of their own. And their stories would reveal another side of the Jackson legacy that many people never fully discovered. When people talk about the Jackson family, the first name that usually comes to mind is Michael Jackson. But behind the world-famous star were sisters who also had talent, ambition, and their own stories to tell. The Jackson sisters grew up surrounded by music. Just like their brothers, they were exposed to singing and performing from a young age. Being part of such a talented family gave them opportunities, but it also created a challenge. They had to prove that they were more than just Michael Jackson's sisters. Rebbie Jackson, the oldest daughter of the family, was the first Jackson sister to enter the music industry professionally. She released her debut album in the 1980s and showed that she had a strong voice and a unique style. Although she never reached the same level of fame as Michael, she built a respected career and remained connected to music. Toya Jackson also became known in the entertainment world. She released music, appeared on television, and became a public figure. Her career often received attention because of her personal life and public statements. Over the years, she experienced both success and challenges while living under intense media attention. Janet Jackson became the most successful of Michael's siblings outside of him. Starting as a young performer, Janet worked hard to create her own identity. She moved away from being known only as a Jackson and developed her own style. With albums, unforgettable performances, and creative music videos, Janet became one of the most influential artists in modern pop music. Her success proved that the Jackson family's talent was not limited to Michael alone. Janet faced her own struggles while building her career. She had to deal with comparisons to her brother, public pressure, and the challenge of creating a name that belonged only to her. The youngest Jackson siblings, Randy and others, also had connections to music and entertainment. Randy became involved with the Jacksons and contributed to the family's musical journey. Each sibling played a different role in keeping the Jackson name connected to music. The success of the Jackson sisters shows that talent existed throughout the entire family. However, being part of a famous family came with a unique pressure. Every achievement was often compared to Michael's incredible career. The Jackson sisters were not simply relatives of a superstar. They were artists with their own dreams, struggles, and achievements. But behind the music and fame, the Jackson family faced personal challenges that tested their relationships and changed the way the world viewed them. The next chapter reveals the difficult side of living inside one of the most famous families in entertainment history. Behind the bright lights, sold-out concerts, and worldwide success, the Jackson family faced challenges that many fans never saw. Becoming one of the most famous families in entertainment history came with a heavy price. From a young age, the Jackson children lived a life that was very different from ordinary kids. Their days were filled with rehearsals, recordings, and performances. While their talent was growing, they also experienced the pressure that came with trying to stay successful. The relationship between fame and family life was complicated. The children had incredible opportunities, but they also had to deal with strict discipline and high expectations. The same dedication that helped them become successful also created challenges within the family. As Michael became one of the biggest stars on the planet, the attention around him grew enormously. His brothers and sisters were proud of his achievements, but they also had to create their own identities while being connected to someone who had reached an almost impossible level of fame. One of the biggest challenges for the family was comparison. People often measured the success of Michael's siblings against his legendary career. This made it difficult for some family members to receive recognition for their own talents and achievements. The Jackson family also experienced disagreements and personal struggles. Like many families, they had moments of conflict, different opinions, and difficult times. Living under constant media attention made these situations even more complicated. Despite these challenges, the family continued to support each other in many ways. They shared a deep connection through music and their history together. The Jackson name remained a symbol of talent, hard work, and entertainment. Another difficult part of their journey was dealing with public attention. Every decision, performance, and personal moment could become a topic for discussion. The family had to learn how to handle fame while protecting their personal lives. Even with disagreements and struggles, many members of the Jackson family continued working in music and entertainment. Their ability to keep moving forward showed their passion and dedication. The story of the Jackson family is not only about success. It is also about sacrifice, pressure, and the challenges that come with being famous. Behind every great performance was a story of hard work and personal battles. But when we look back at their journey, one question remains: who truly made the biggest impact? Was it only Michael's record-breaking career, or did every brother and sister play a role in creating a legacy that changed music forever? The answer becomes clearer when we look at the lasting influence of the Jackson family around the world. The Jackson family story is much bigger than one person. While Michael Jackson became a global icon and changed the music industry forever, his journey was built on the foundation created by an entire family of performers. The Jackson 5 opened doors that changed popular music. Their unique style, powerful performances, and young energy inspired millions of fans around the world. They showed that a family group from a small city could reach the biggest stages in entertainment. Each brother contributed something important. Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, and Marlon helped create the sound and image of the Jackson 5. Their teamwork created the platform that allowed Michael's talent to shine. Without their early years together, the story of Michael Jackson might have looked very different. The Jackson sisters also left their own mark. Janet Jackson became one of the most influential artists in music history, proving that the Jackson family's creativity continued across generations. Rebbie, Toya, and the other siblings each added their own chapter to the family story. What makes the Jackson family unique is not only their success, but their influence. Their music crossed borders, connected people, and inspired countless artists who came after them. However, their legacy is also a reminder that fame has two sides. Behind the awards and achievements were years of practice, sacrifice, pressure, and personal challenges. Their story shows that success often requires dedication and strength. When people ask, how good were Michael Jackson's brothers and sisters? The answer is not simply about who sold the most records or became the most famous. Each sibling had different talents, different goals, and Michael may have become the brightest star, but the Jackson family created a universe of talent together. Their journey remains one of the most fascinating stories in entertainment history. A family that started with simple dreams went on to influence music forever. And even decades later, the Jackson name continues to remind the world of the power of talent, teamwork, and determination. The Jackson family journey was never just about fame. It was a story of dreams, hard work, sacrifices, and the power of believing in a talent. Michael Jackson became a legend, but behind that legend was a family that helped create the beginning of the story. His brothers and sisters each played a different role, and together they built a name that the world will never forget. Their success came with challenges, but their influence continues to live on through the music they created and the artists they inspired. So, how good were Michael Jackson's brothers and sisters? They were more than just members of a famous family. They were performers, creators, and important parts of one of the greatest musical stories ever told. If you enjoyed this documentary, share your thoughts in the comments. Which Jackson family member do you think had the most underrated talent? Don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more incredible celebrity stories, and watch our next documentary to discover another unforgettable journey from the world of fame and music.